Well, drug maker Eli Lilly has suspended tests on a coronavirus antibody treatment over a potential safety concern. It comes just day after pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson halted its vaccine trial because of a volunteer becoming ill. Let's bring in Kate Tulenko. She's the CEO of Corvus Health firm, global health firm, Corvus Health, I should say. Kate, thanks so much for joining us. I think first we need to separate what are essentially three things: vaccines, treatments, and testing. So let's start with the first, vaccines. Trials on teenagers. Your thoughts?
Well, we have to keep in mind that the majority of vaccines globally are given to children because they're more likely to go see physicians and you want to prevent the disease from happening, and it's better to vaccinate at a younger age. But in general, when we develop new vaccines, such as the COVID vaccine, we test first in adults and then move to children. And we have had a number of large-scale testing in adults, and so it does make sense given the emergency that we would then move to the older teens. So I think it is a completely appropriate plan.
Well, the U.S. President Donald Trump has touted America's race to a vaccine as unprecedented and said it wouldn't have happened without him. But there are other countries that are there as well. China began inoculating frontline workers over the summer, and it's just distributing some of its vaccine candidates to a number of other countries. The UK's trials are also quite far along. All of this without Trump.
So we have 11 candidate vaccines that are in the third phase of testing. So certainly it has been a global effort, and the WHO is also leading a global effort. Unfortunately, the U.S. is not part of that. And we have, seen in the last few decades that laboratory capacity, research capacity has greatly expanded. And so it's not a surprise that we're seeing countries other than the U.S. develop vaccines.
In terms of treatment, we saw Trump touting the treatment he received, Regeneron, but its maker said Trump was a one-off and that the drug isn't quite ready. What are then some of the bright spots in terms of treatment?
So he actually received all the bright spots. He received the best treatment possible. One set of treatments is the antibody treatment. So that includes Lilly's product, which is currently in suspension. We're not quite sure yet. They said in a week they'll give some more information. But they had completed a trial earlier in patients who were at home, not hospitalized, patients with mild or moderate COVID, and it showed that their treatment reduced hospitalizations. The trial that's been temporarily suspended has been combining the Lilly antibody with Regeneron, which is an antiviral. So we have to find out more about what's happened with that. So the antibodies one treatment, Regeneron Regeneron, which is an antiviral, is another treatment, and then you have additional treatments such as the steroids, which prevent that sort of cytokine storm, that storm of inflammation. You also have the anti-clotting treatments as well, because we know that COVID can cause lots of clots in the blood vessels. So those are the various methodologies of treating COVID.
And talk about some of the advances in testing. It doesn't really get as much attention, but some argue it is critical for life to get back to normal, or at least in that direction.
Well, one of the biggest advances is that of pooled testing or group testing, where, for example, they might test a single classroom of students all together to see if there's any positives. And if there are, they then test each one individually, or a family might all test together. And then once again, if they're positive, they can all test individually. This type of pooled testing was developed in the 1950s, and it's a much more efficient way to test large numbers of people with limited numbers of tests. And we also hear that the Indians are about to release a very fast paper-based test that doesn't require a laboratory. So hopefully this will be available more widely and will allow people to test more frequently.
All right, Kate Tulenko from Corvus Health, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.